Today's topic, Apple deployments made easy with Device Enrollment Program and Volume Purchase Program. Quick introductions. Again, my name's Tad Johnson. I'm a solutions architect with Jamf Software, and I'm joined by our senior systems engineer, Kyle Barris. Kyle's going to give us a demo towards the end of the webinar today, so you'll hear from him in just a moment. Before we do that, before we jump into the demo, let's talk about the topics we're going to cover today. So first, we're going to talk a little bit about broad Apple device management concepts. And I'll introduce our products. We at Jamf Software, makers of the Casper suite, introduce a little bit of context of what that's all about. Then, the main topic today is all about Apple deployment. So we're going to talk about the Device Enrollment Program, or DEP, as well as the Volume Purchase Program, VPP. We'll talk about what these are, how you can put these to use at your organization, and some of the benefits of using these deployment programs. We'll touch on Apple IDs, as that is a factor that works into the Volume Purchase Program. And then last, we'll have a demo so you can get a real-life example of how all this technology works. First things first, quick introduction of Jamf Software. This is a photo of our main office here in Minneapolis. It succinctly sums up our goal in life. Jamf Software helps organizations succeed with Apple. It's a simple mission. It's been the same mission we've been on since our founding in 2002. How do we do that? We work with organizations of all shapes and sizes and equip their IT groups with the tools and the technology to manage Apple devices well. And what that means is that the students, the teachers, the employees, the users in those organizations have great tools at their disposal to be creative, to do their job, to learn, to teach, and to get their work done. The Casper suite is the primary product that we use to fulfill that mission. The Casper suite is built up of a few different parts. You'll hear us talk about the JSS. That stands for Jamf Software Server. That's the brains of the Casper suite, the part that collects all the inventory, all the intelligence, and that's how we interact with it as an IT admin. The Casper suite also includes a number of utilities that are used for building packages, software packages for a Mac, doing the initial inventory of your systems, and creating images. We'll just briefly touch on those today. And then we have user-facing software as well. For schools, we have a product called Casper Focus that ties in with the Casper suite to give teachers tools to help them manage a classroom full of iPads. And for users of all types, we have self-service. Kyle's going to show us a quick view of self-service and how that can be used along with the Volume Purchase Program. But for anyone who's using the Casper suite, self-service is a great way of extending your IT services, the apps, the utilities, the configurations, and making it available on demand to anyone in your organization. The Jamf Software Server is, again, that's the brains of the Casper suite. That's what we interact with through the administration console. And that server can exist either on-premise, on a Mac, Windows, or Linux server, or we can host that through Jamf Cloud. So a very brief overview there of some of the technologies that we're going to talk about. But the main thrust today, we're really going to hone in on device management, deployment, inventory, security, and the first thing we're going to talk about is that first piece, deployment. What do we mean when we talk about device deployment? The whole idea is that we want an easy way to take brand new devices, whether that's a Mac, an iPad, or an iPhone, and get those configured in a way that they're ready to be used by the users in your organization. As an IT organization, we know that it's important that we do this in a way that is simple, that we're not putting a big demand on all of our users to be IT experts on their own. We want it to be scalable so that as an organization grows from a few dozen to a few hundred to a few thousand to tens of thousands of people, that your deployment model can scale along with you. It's absolutely critical that we do this in a way that's secure so that we're protecting both the organization's data and we're preserving the privacy of all the users' data that are on these devices. And we want to do this in a way that's consistent. meaning that the first iPad that you set up is consistently deployed along with the last. If we can achieve these 4 goals, then we're doing a great job and we've got a good workflow for our Apple device deployment. Now, in this context, I wanted to bring up these 4 goals as a way to frame how we talk about the Device Enrollment Program. The Device Enrollment Program, this is something that was introduced by Apple. It's a program that's administered through Apple. It's globally available. And what it offers you is a way to do the initial enrollment of a brand new Mac, iPad, or iPhone in a way where your users don't have to actually do any of the enrollment steps. You can automatically have that enrollment take place during the initial setup assistant. This leads to a very scalable deployment, since you are already associating all the devices that your organization owns with your enrollment in the Device Enrollment Program, and then automatically linking that with your management server. It gives you a way to silently and securely deploy configurations so that all the devices in your organization have the appropriate security configurations from day one. And again, it's available on Mac, iPad, and iPhone. Going one step deeper, let's talk about how this technology works. The first step, if you want to use the Device Enrollment Program, is you're going to enroll your organization with the Apple Deployment Program. And then you're going to get a token, which is a special cryptographic file that will associate your MDM server. In this case, we're using the Casper Suite JSS. So we're connecting your JSS with Apple's deployment service. Then, when any new device that your organization owns, when that is first turned on, it checks in with Apple. Because the Apple service knows about that device and it knows about your organization, it's going to give that device the details it needs to enroll in your MDM server. The enrollment takes place, and then all of the configuration tasks, such as security configurations or other inventory updates, can happen automatically. Really neat program. Here's a quick view of what that process looks like for an IT admin. The user experience is pretty simple. What I can do is I can define what I want the enrollment experience to look like. I can define whether or not I want to use device supervision as part of this if we're using an iPad. And I can turn on or turn off the different steps of the setup assistant. I could even assign device names. So if you've got a warehouse full of 1,000 iPads that need to be deployed, you can very easily make that a simple task by using the Device Enrollment Program. For the user experience, it's going to start out with a familiar screen. This is the setup assistant that anyone who's ever turned on an iPad for the first time would see. You'll select your country, your region. You can connect that to a Wi-Fi network, so you can connect that into your school or your organization's network. Now it's going to check in with Apple, and what it's going to find is that this iPad will automatically be configured. Jamf software will automatically configure this iPad. At this point, you can optionally have a user login step, so that you're going to ask for the user's Active Directory or Exchange credentials. And it's going to automatically configure that iPad using the rules that you've set up as the IT admin. Last, they'll be prompted for their Apple ID. Again, this is one of those steps that you can alternately skip if you're not using Apple IDs with these devices. And finally, the iPad is set up. So now it'll go back to the regular home screen. All the enrollment, all the security configurations are done silently in the background. And now you've got an iPad that's ready to go. Really neat program. Again, I really encourage you to check that out if you're not already using the Device Enrollment Program today. Next up, we talked about device deployment. The next step, app deployment. Again, we have the same goals here. We want a way to get all of our Mac, iPad, iPhone devices configured with the apps that our users are going to need. We want this to be simple. We want it to be scalable. We want to have a control over the purchasing aspect so that we're not having purchases made individually by dozens or hundreds of different people in your organization. We want to centralize that purchasing, and we want an ability to do license management so that all the money that you're spending on individual apps can then be preserved by the organization. Again, these are pretty common goals. This is the stuff that we've been doing as IT admins for years. Apple's volume purchase program is another tool to put in your tool belt to make this even easier. Managed distribution is the newest iteration of the volume purchase program. What that offers you is a way to do both centralized purchasing and license management, where you can assign an app to a user, and then if your needs change, if that person leaves your organization, or if you just want to reassign the apps that you've already bought, you can do that through the volume purchase program with managed distribution. This is also a great way to take advantage of the safe and secure app store. One of the big benefits that we often don't think about is that any app that you're going to download from the App Store has been vetted by a real live person at Apple. This is a great way to ensure that you're getting apps that are appropriate, that are safe, and that are going to work in your environment. The way this works, the volume purchase program, there's kind of three phases. We assign apps. So we purchase and assign those apps to the users in our organization. We're going to use the Casper suite to prepare for app deployment. And then we're going to invite the users in our organization to join our VPP program and then get access to all the apps that we've assigned. One final part before I turn it over to Kyle, one final a note on this. If you're using the volume purchase program today, or if you're investigating that today, you'll know that right now Apple ID is a requirement for the volume purchase program. An Apple ID is simply a unique Apple identity. It consists of an email address and a password. It is required for VPP today. Apple has announced that there will be more options for that in the future this fall. And if you're working with a school where you have students who are under the age of 18, there is a program called Apple ID for Students that will help schools get Apple IDs created and assigned for all their students. So I've given you a quick overview of the Device Enrollment Program, of the Volume Purchase Program, and some context of how this fits within the broader goals of Apple device management. Now I want to turn it over to my colleague, Kyle Barris, who's going to walk us through a demo and see this in action.
All right, thanks, Ted. And before we dive into VPP right away, we did have a couple questions come through on the chat line about the Device Enrollment Program, DEP. The first one was, is there a cost associated to the program, which is a great question. There isn't a cost to sign up with Apple for the device, the deployment programs. You do have to sign up relatively quickly, though, because they have a rolling counter on how many devices you can get in by purchase date. So you want to make sure that you want to take advantage of that, even if you're not thinking about deploying devices with it for the next couple months or so. Another question that came in was about the MacBooks. You can use the Device Enrollment Program with Macs as well, and it is getting a refresh with El Capitan as well. The third question that we got in, just super quick, was about Active Directory and tying into some of your directory services. And yes, if you do require AD authentication, that device will be assigned to that user within the Jamf Software Server JSS. So those were just some of the quick questions that we had about DEP. If you have questions, continue to put them into the chat line, and we'll try to fit them in when they make sense. All right, so let's dive into the technology here. All right, so to start out today, we're going to talk about the end user experience on what does this look like to accept an invitation and to get that application installed on either my iPad or my Mac. What you should be seeing now is an iPad that we have shared out via WebEx. And I'm going to go ahead and open up self-service here. So when self-service launches, I'll get a message that says, you haven't registered for the volume purchase program for our organization. And you can see that it's popped up right in the middle of my screen. In the background, you'll see that I actually don't have any applications assigned to me yet. because it is contingent upon me accepting the volume purchase program. So I'm going to go ahead and click register here. And that's going to go ahead and that's going to skip me over to the App Store as soon as I hit continue here. And when this launches, it's going to ask me for a couple bits of information. Now, depending upon how recent it's been that you've signed in with an Apple ID on your device, you might get this required sign-in. It might actually just keep those credentials for you and allow you to continue. I'm going to go ahead and tap sign in here. And it's going to ask me for my Apple ID password. Since I don't want you to see my password, I'm going to skip back to the main screen here real quick while I type that in. All right, so we're back here. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK for my password. And there's going to be a little verbiage that comes up from Apple asking me to accept the terms and conditions with an agree button on the bottom. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to hit agree and agree again. Yes, I'm really sure. And then it's going to tell me that my organization can now assign apps and books to me. If we go ahead and take a look at the purchase history on my iPad, you see that some of this stuff is already starting to filter in. And if I left this up on the screen, we would see more and more applications start to show up on this list. This process can take up to a couple minutes or so. So we're going to leave this for now and show you what the invitation process looks like on a Mac as well. For OS X, again, we're going to use self-service to accept the volume purchase program invitation. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log in to self-service on my Mac using my AD account. And I'm going to go in the upper right-hand corner where it says VPP invitations. Go ahead and select that. And it says that I have an invitation ready to be accepted. And it lists out some of the applications that I have access to. If I go ahead and tap on this accept invitation, just like the iPad, it's going to take me over to the Mac App Store. It's going to ask me to put in my Apple ID username and password if I haven't done that recently, and finish up that process on the back end with Apple. Now that we've shown you a little bit how the invitation process works, let's show you what self-service looks like on the iPad here. So I'm going to go ahead and open up self-service on my iPad, and I'm going to refresh it just to generate some new content within it. And I try to leave enough time for Apple to get everything squared away on their end between us, the JSS, the Jamf software server, and the iPad. And what you'll notice now is that there's an Apple section and a student section that's popped up on my iPad. And these are all applications that I have been assigned via the volume purchase program, and that I can go ahead and install on my device without having to worry about Apple IDs or worry about purchasing applications like Keynote, Numbers, or Pages. If I want to go ahead and install one, I can just tap on the application and tap the install button, and that will start the install process on my iPad. Pretty quick, pretty easy. A really great way to give out both free and paid applications to your teachers, students, coworkers, staff members, and all sorts of folks within your organization. So you might be saying, well, great, that looks really easy, but how easy is it to set up? How can we get this to work well in our environment or our organization? And what we'll do here is we'll go over into the JSS and show you just really quickly how you can get to this place within the Casper Suite. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log into the JSS web interface here. And I'm under the Users tab. And to really get a grasp on VPP nowadays, it's all about users. We have to invite users, we assign things to users, and we deploy them to the user's devices. This is by design with Apple. They want it to be easy for an end user to take, let's say, an iPad and have Keynote on it, and take an iPhone that the institution or organization has given that user, and also get the same content on there. Tad alluded earlier to some of the changes coming with the volume purchase program, and Apple's adding in a way for organizations to assign licenses based on device level as well. That won't be in the demo today because that's an unreleased option within the volume purchase program, but Apple does have some documentation online if you're looking to learn more about that. So for the users section, there's really three things that we need to do to complete this workflow in your environment. And we're going to start off first by talking about VPP assignments and invitations. And I'm going to go under the assignments area first within the users section. So when I load up the VPP assignments, you'll see that I've got a list of several different assignments for my organization. And you can have these for one application, you can have them for multiple applications, you can have them for a whole swath of applications if you're looking at doing some different deployments. And I would say just design your assignments in a way that makes the most sense to you. For example, Casper Focus that I have on the top there is only to go to teachers. So I've got it limited to teachers, which it says right here. And other apps I might want to bundle together, like the Google Apps or iWork apps, I'm probably not going to deploy just Pages to one person, Keynote to another, so I can bundle those apps together. And when you do this and build things into logical groups, it makes it easier to deploy for you in the long run. To take a look at one of these deployments, let me go ahead and click on iOS iWork. So I'm going to go ahead and select that here. And I'm going to go under Applications to show you what this interface looks like. And it's pretty easy to assign on applications. If I scroll through the list here, you see that I've got checkboxes for the applications that I've purchased through Apple. And if I scroll down, you'll see that Keynote is selected, and I've got one copy deployed of the one copy I own. But I've got some other applications I can choose from there as well. How we get this out to folks, though, is all within the Scope tab, or what we call grouping within the JSS. And the way that I've got this structured and set up is I'm going to target my users, but I want to limit to a specific group. And one of the folks earlier had asked, can we tie into directory, Active Directory structure to make this easier? Most certainly. This is actually pulling from Active Directory and looking for a grad year for my demonstration. Once we've got the apps assigned, this can take a little while to get up to Apple, so you want to make sure that you do this before your deployment. But once we've got this squared away, we can start adding applications to self-service and have them kind of prepped and ready to go. So when folks accept that VPP invitation, they're there ready to go, just like we saw in the demo. And to do this, it's really easy to go back under the Options area and click on the Add to App Catalog. Now, you want to make sure that if you do any changes within here and you see this Edit button still, you want to make sure that you save it or you select Done on that. Just in case, so you don't lose any of your work. For me, I already had it saved, so we're good there. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add to App Catalog for, let's say, Adobe Acrobat Reader. When I do this, it's going to pull in all the information for Acrobat, and I can select what's going to happen to this application when I send it out to my users. For distribution method, we have either self-service or make available via a push or automatically install. There are some pros and cons to these. You want to make sure that you use them in the right way. Typically, with a lot of deployments, we see a lot of folks using self-service for a couple reasons. One, we want to get users in the habit of knowing that they've got a tool on their own device that they can get things when they need them instead of calling IT. And additionally, the process of getting the VPP licenses to Apple and for the device to recognize them can take a few minutes. So if I don't have things synced up just right, that install automatically can cause a little bit of a lag between when they accept the VPP invitation and when they actually are able to install it. As far as scoping, we can use similar methodology as we looked at with the VPP assignments, but for this, I can do some really cool stuff with the smart grouping or the inventory functionality that Tad was talking about earlier. For example, I can click the Add button here and go under User Groups, and I can say, only people that have accepted my VPP invitation can see this application. So I can make sure that self-service is pretty bare bones or very limited based on whether you've accepted to be a part of our program or not. And again, as I add these things in, I can always choose to do limitations and add in directory groups, or I can also exclude those directory groups as well. The last piece of the process is to actually invite users to the program. And the reason why I do it in this way is we want to make sure that we get as much pre-work done as possible before we start sending out invitations and getting people excited about getting more applications or new applications on their devices. And if I go under the Users tab and go back under Invitations, here's where I can set some of those things up. So the invitation that we accepted earlier on my iPad is this one right here. And I've got this one set again for self-service. We saw that in the demonstration where self-service prompted me for that. But you can do some different deployment methods depending upon what kind of device you're going to use or what your end goals are. For example, we can send emails out to folks to get them to actually accept the VPP invitation before we give them devices. Or we can also take a look at prompting devices that are already deployed to make it easier for folks to actually be a part of the program. Lastly, just to hit this home scope, we can target all of our users, and then we can limit to different directory groups using the existing infrastructure that you have to make things very easy to manage and to change in the future. So with that wraps up just a brief overview of how the volume purchase program with the Casper Suite works today. This is a pretty basic workflow, so if you do have questions, we'd be happy to talk to you about how to customize this or make it fit for your organization. But this should give you a pretty good model to move forward with.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kyle. I just wanted to complete our complete the topic we were covering today. So we talked a lot about deployment, and with deployment, Kyle covered on how you can use the Casper Suite along with volume purchase program, and we talked about the device enrollment program as a way to get new devices added into your management system. Now, once you've already built that out, once you've mastered that deployment workflow, the great thing with using the Casper Suite is that you also have a full inventory view of all the devices, all the apps, all the software that's deployed in your environment, and you have the tools to both monitor and update the security profiles for all the Apple devices that you're using. So we've built the Casper Suite to accomplish the core needs of Apple device management, inventory, deployment, security. We focused on deployment today. If you'd like to get more information, we've got lots of other resources online. You can go to jamfsoftware.com and you can either view other webinars like this that we've done, or if you want to get a more personal, tailored demo, to want to talk to an engineer to talk about how you can implement this in your organization, head over to jamfsoftware.com. You can call, you can chat, or you can email us, and we'll get in touch, connect you with an engineer in your area, and you can talk about how to implement this for your organization. If you are a customer or not, I would also encourage you to use jamfnation.com, which is where you can find a few thousand of the world's best and brightest Apple IT admins who are offering ideas, asking each other questions, sharing best practices about how to do Apple device management. So if this topic is interesting to you, I would highly recommend you add this onto your daily reading list. This is an extremely active site, and you can find really helpful information, of course, not just about our products, but about the entire world of Apple IT management. With that, let me say a big heartfelt thank you. These webinars are always fun to do, especially when we have lots and lots of folks who join on to participate with us. So thank you for taking an hour out of your day and learning a little more about Apple deployment with Device Enrollment Program and Volume Purchase Program. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.